Welcome to What's Up Oxford. I'm your host, Shannon Woolley, and I'm absolutely thrilled. We have our MPP of Oxford, Ernie Hardeman, on the show today. Welcome to the show, Ernie.
Great to be here. Great to be here.
So, ninth term in after 30 years. Congratulations.
Well, it's not quite 30 years yet. It won't be till June.
Not till June, okay, but we're coming up to 30 years.
Yes, we
9
are.
terms.
Yes.
Well, congratulations.
Yes, well, thank you very much. It's very rewarding.
So, I have to ask, what does the day in the life of an MPP look like? Not every day, but a day that you're serving for.
There is not even a typical day in the life of an MPP. One gets up, and I suppose the first thing one has to do is, even before you start your breakfast, try and find out what's going on in the world to make sure what it is you're going to deal with today. Staying
up on current events.
And that's in the bigger picture. In the smaller picture, it's when you go to the office and see the emails and the people's with their problems. And sometimes there's a lot, sometimes there isn't much, but that's...
Every day is different then.
Every day is something new.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was there any doubt in your mind that you were going to win again?
A week before the election, no.
Okay.
The day the writ drops, 100%. I always start an election with, if one person can change their mind, 10,000 can change their mind.
Right.
In this case, I had the plurality of 15,000, so even the 10 would not have been quite enough. They would have if they'd been all going to the same person. And so, but it's the election. I worry about what I'm doing and making sure I do it right too. And I treat every election like I did the first one.
Okay.
I can't sleep at night, and I worry about to make sure I'm doing everything right. You can't change what you've done after the polls close.
Of course. Okay. So can you talk about the $7 million from Queen's Parks for the Oxford County infrastructure?
Well, again, we've been working very hard at the province to help municipalities build the housing we need. And what I was particularly happy about the money we were able to put into Oxford, in this case, the infrastructure of sewer and water to service our development. It's almost all going towards being able to build more housing on the present part of the designated area for growth, rather than just putting in new lines and going into the countryside and taking our good farmland for development. So we are infilling and building more dense and higher up rather than using farmland to do it. And I think that's a great approach going forward.
Was there a bylaw at one point that Woodstock or Oxford County could only build so many levels up?
Yeah, well, the actual building is all municipal. Okay. So municipalities decide in their official plan, they decide where growth is going to take, and then in their zoning bylaws, they get to describe on the vacant land or on the community as to what it is and what type of housing they want.
Okay.
And so they can restrict to height in certain areas, they can restrict height in every areas. Just about all municipalities have some standard of height. City of Toronto, the number one appeal to the tribunal is developers appealing the height of the building. Mm-hmm. Because obviously when you're building a high rise, building another 5 stories becomes much more cost effective for those units than building it from the ground up again.
Right, of course.
And so, but it seems strange that they would have to go to so much appealing. I kind of joke with it. It seems to me that when you get to a certain height of buildings, you can't see that in your community unless you're also at the same height.
Right.
So to me, at a certain point, there's only one that should be complaining about the height because you're getting too close to heaven.
Okay, makes sense. And then the home renovation savings program. Can you tell us what that is?
Well, I think I think we all want to encourage more activity in housing, more encourage in changing the makeup of the housing. So helping with the program to help fund these things will also increase the quality and the numbers of living accommodations. Remember, it varies between healthcare and education, but the number one concern of the average person on the street in Oxford and everywhere else is
affordable housing.
Affordable housing. So everything that the government has been doing is trying to direct making housing more affordable.
I love that you're bringing this up. So affordable housing. I'm a mortgage agent. I'm a mortgage broker. I've been doing this for 20 years. And we have noticed more recently, due to the noise in the South coming from Mr. Trump, these tariffs are causing a lot of noise in the market, which is in turn affecting the financial market, which is in turn affecting mortgage rates. How do you think the tariffs are going to affect Oxford County?
Well, I think the tariffs are going to affect everybody, not just in Oxford County.
Whole country.
Because it's going to decrease the buying of our products elsewhere.
Right.
The tariffs that the Americans are putting on the product makes the product more expensive in the States.
Right.
What they're trying to do, to be honest, is take our jobs and move them to Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And when they do that, the projections are that with the tariffs that the president, if I can call him that, what he's proposing, that could be up to between 400 and 500,000 jobs we lose in Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
Now, look at what impact that's going to have when we have 400,000 more people looking for work than we have jobs.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to have a massive strain on our social system in Oxford County and in all of Ontario. So it's not a small thing. It's just not the one individual. It's not just raising the interest rates on housing. That's bad enough. But when you have all these people not working, government's getting less money.
Inflation
Because they're not paying taxes,
cost of
and they all need government services because they can't afford to buy their own, and that is a disastrous situation. So
disastrous situation coupled with the fact that Parliament's been basically out of office since before Christmas, right? Broke for Christmas, and then Justin Trudeau made his announcement that he was going to resign. So there hasn't been a lot happening at the Parliament, the government level. Now we've just heard the news of Carney now being the Prime Minister of Canada. So at what point can we expect the leadership of this country to stand up and make some, hopefully, bargaining or do something that's not going to destroy our country?
Well, I think that's a real challenge. Obviously, Carney becoming the leader of the Liberal Party would automatically make him, in our structure, automatically makes him the Prime Minister of the country. So we will have a Prime Minister that not a single soul
voted for
in Canada voted for him to be Prime Minister. Having said that, I think we have a bigger problem that the federal government hasn't been doing a lot about the tariffs and so forth. That's why our Premier has taken the reins and said, well, what we can do, we're going to do to stop this from happening.
Right.
When it comes to the number of jobs lost, Ontario is the highest number of all of Canada. I think you would likely think somewhere around 50 to 60% of the jobs that would be lost would be in Ontario. So that's why we announced yesterday that we were going to put a 25% surcharge on hydro that we're selling to the Americans.
So you're selling to the U.S., right?
Okay, and we announced that we were going to do that a couple of days ago, and Trump says, well, we'll hold off the tariffs for a little while, for another month, on those things that are part of the trade agreement. I see no reason why we should have to make an announcement that we're holding off tariffs. We have a trade agreement that has another 2 years to play. Why would he not just say, okay, we're going to honor that agreement and
For
we're
at
going to
least the next
negotiate
2
a new
years.
agreement? Now, it's interesting that when we're talking about this, I was Minister of Agriculture when this trade agreement was signed. And when it was over, the president was Trump, and he said it was the best agreement in the world.
Yeah, there was actually a video of him saying that.
And we did that. It was also, because, and the reason I mentioned I was Minister of Agriculture was now he is screaming about the tariffs on milk products. And because that was part of the agreement, we opened up more of our market share to the Americans in that agreement so they could ship more of their product tariff-free.
Right.
That allotment. In that whole time since then, they have never reached that cap. So they've not paid a single cent on tariffs on milk products since that agreement was signed.
Right.
If they ship more than their allotment, then there is a massive tariff. And that's the one he's using to say, oh, this is a terrible agreement.
But they've never actually paid it.
Nobody's ever paid it. And under the present structure, they don't have to pay it because they haven't even filled their commitment of their ability to ship what they are shipping. And so it seems his decisions on what the tariffs are going to be on and when he's going to, there just seem to be, he wakes up in the morning and just decides, I think I'm going to do that today.
Right. It feels like we're almost fighting a bully, right? Like like this has been our biggest ally, this has been our biggest partner, and now it feels like he says something and then Canada retaliates and then he tries to make it even bigger. And it's scary as a citizen, not in politics, not in government at all. It's scary as a citizen to go, are we fighting a fight that we'll ever have a chance in hell of winning? Because of the size of America compared to where we are. And I think that's, just as a lonely old citizen that's not in politics, do we not need to get our leadership and our government sitting down and negotiating rather than playing the back and forth, well, whatever you do, we're going to do this? It's scary.
Yeah, it is real scary. And I think you're right. But there is one thing that you missed in your analysis. Bullies are not interested in negotiating.
Right.
Okay? It's my way or the highway.
Well, he's made it abundantly clear how he feels about our previous prime minister. So with any luck, now the fact that Justin is out of office, there could be some potential. When can we expect an election? Because I know there's not supposed to be one until October.
I think that's a great question. Obviously, I'm not a federal politician. I would expect we are going to see an imminent election very quickly.
So not waiting until the original scheduled one in October?
No, I don't believe that even under normal conditions that an unelected prime minister can govern for 6 months, because that term was designated for the people who were elected in that previous election.
Right.
I think he has, coming forward now, he has an obligation to, as quickly as reasonably possible, to go to the people to ask and put what he wants to do going forward and put that to the people. One of the things that we really haven't seen anything of is a plan of dealing with it. Right. One of the things I do want to point out when we say we can't do anything because they are have so much more power. I found it interesting this morning when he said, all of a sudden he gets up. He wasn't thinking about this yesterday. Today, all of a sudden he says, we're going to double the tariffs on steel and aluminum because of the impact that the tax on hydro was going to have.
Right. So he's realized he needs us.
So all of a sudden he does realize that we may not be as large as they are, but we also have things they want and need.
They need our resources.
And so, and I think that's the first sign that he's looking that we might get to the table. If to stop this from happening, if the other side would just say, okay, let's sit down as we did last time, sit down and talk about this trade deal and come to
Come to an agreement. right?
agreement that both of us can live with. We are similar. We're friendly neighbors and work very well together, like a Can-Am
Right.
group together. That can be that way again. He seems to have this thing. When he was running for president, he was talking about the billions of dollars that the Americans were subsidizing us. If you look at the trade between the two countries and eliminate the oil that the Americans desperately need from Alberta, we have a balance.
Right.
And so they're not subsidizing us.
Right.
The subsidization only comes in the volume when you add the oil from Alberta, which incidentally, because we don't have enough transportation, oil transportation to get it where it should be going to the world market where we could get a lot more for
Money
the oil.
for it, right.
It's going into the States and at a reduced price. If you look at that reduced price, all of a sudden the trade imbalance would disappear.
Right. Ernie, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I do hope that you'll come back on again. It's always intriguing to chat with you.
I was just so surprised how long it's taken for me to get an opportunity to be here.
Well, I look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Thank you very much. We very much appreciate it.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.